shines through you when you leave me room.
Aries, devotion, leading to the power of sacrifice. Well, this is quite an exercise to start with, because devotion is a beginning picture of the will towards the other. And of course we can think of devotion as a feeling quality, but what is it to have a devotional action? Now, those of us that are connected to a spiritual practice may feel that when we enter into a holy place, there is a certain quality of this devotion in the inner world as we enter into these outer spaces. But what would it be to enact an activity of devotion towards the world? Now, towards the world could mean that it is actually literally towards the space in your room, towards a plant, towards an animal, towards any of the creation around you, towards another person. So we're going to try to think of what small deed of devotion, what small action of devotion may be a way of expressing this virtue through my own activity. And ideally we would attempt to do the same action every day. Ideally, we would attempt to do the same action at the same time every day, because this will really affect our ability to engage this intentional spiritual will. It's not going to be coming when I feel like it, when I prefer it, when I can be bothered to do it. We're actually choosing a time, because it then allows us to start engaging into this sense that, I have an internal decision that I have made to engage with this quality of devotion. It begins in the course of the month to start awakening in me around that same time that I have chosen. So to make that clear, you would say choose a certain time of day. It could be, when I awake or before I go to sleep. But it could also be that just you choose a particular time of day. So at 11 in the morning, I will do this small deed. Now, of course, when we're using this word devotion, it would not be just a deed I do only outwardly. So it may be, for instance, that I go outside and care for, tend to a plant daily. Just go outside every day and care for and tend to that plant. But it is a will action, but it is not just in the will, because you're going with this quality of devotion towards it. And it's very important that we add that, and don't just go out and just, touch it, look at it. You want to take this quality of devotion towards it. So it's a feeling experience, but it is also engaged in the will, because it may not be that you feel devotional. You may not it might not encourage that from you. And certainly when you work with an exercise like this through the course of the month, you will be more and more taught about how your will acts. Because there are days where you won't want to. There are days where you prefer not to. There are days where you'll be interested to for one or another reason other than what is your free will. So each day in your free will, at a certain time of day, you will perform a deed of devotion. And then after you have done that deed, you want to close your eyes and to see if you can connect into the activity, the inner activity. Now, to begin with, that may not be clear to you. It might take some days before that begins to build. But this starts to become a quality that you become more perceptible to. This inner kind of activity of will that feels different from the habitual will, or the will that's kind of drawn out of me because I want something or the world wants something from me. And that feeling is then poured through the top of the head, down the forehead, down the front, into the heart. And then you can hold this thought, devotion, and allow that for 1 minute just to stay with that quality. Now, I'm going to ask Séamus to speak the verse, and the words will also come up on the screen. And for this year's work, it would be very useful if you also speak the verse aloud, or if you choose to. There won't be those of you that don't choose this part, you only want to do the individual will exercise, but it will also be very useful for those of you that are willing to put your will into your speech, to put your will into your speech, to speak the verse daily. And again, at the end of speaking, you may also feel this resonance of this inner activity, again, through the top of the head, pouring down the front of the body, internally as well to the heart, in and around the heart. And then those of you that choose to can follow on with the Eurythmy with Marilyn. And you will learn the zodiac gesture for Aries. And you will then, again, pour that activity down to the front of the heart. So you have 3 opportunities to engage with this will stream, which will bring about definite shifts in how you're able to bring this quality of a devotional will into the world around you. Now that sounds like a very big shift, but it is a very important shift to start to understand when we are moved by a loving will. To be moved by a loving will is so different than to be moved by a habitual will or to be moved by a selfish will. And in the course of this year, you will learn about your will, how it functions, what causes you to act, and you will gain more freedom there. And where you're free, there you can love.
Arise, O shining light, take hold of growth and becoming. Lay hold of the weaving of forces, yourself ray forth. life wakening, in face of resistance, gain, in streams of time disperse. O shining light, abide.
Aries. Hello everyone. This is Aries in Eurythmy that I've just shown you. And now for those of you who would like to learn it, I shall invite you to come along and see if we can do this together. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it really comes in with this fiery essence. It's a fire sign, so it has this fire capacity to it. And so it comes from the periphery, but also from below. And so it comes up with some force because it's pointing towards the head. And the hand streams upwards, fingers pointing upwards towards the chin, but sort of around about the sternum that the hand is. And the gaze is slightly inward, and the head is turned a little bit as well. So the Aries from the zodiac brings in this force for the human's head. So if we do this gesture and we have our heads slightly inclined, you even get a sense of this cosmos, like this big round cosmic form that is forming our head. And really the head is a picture of the cosmos. So that's the very first zodiac gesture that comes in. And with Eurythmy, we have, as I've spoken about in the introduction, we have many different gestures. So we have gestures of the sounds, we have gestures of the planets and the zodiac, and of music and tones and intervals, and choreographed forms as well. But what we're going to do in our exercise is to learn this Aries gesture, and particularly the streaming, because the streaming is so important to bring this in. And yes, let's see how we go. So, starting in your imagination as if this is coming from the cosmos, this stream from the periphery and from below, and streaming upwards as if it was a force being pushed up towards your head. So that's the Aries gesture. And then, as you heard Lisa speaking about, bringing in the streaming as well. So this will be pouring into the top of your head, crossing your forehead, coming down to the throat area, and then down to the front of the heart, where from there we will find the devotion from the cosmos coming in and our devotion coming in, and between them something new may arise. So at the beginning there's also an introduction to Eurythmy and another exercise to do, which is the ERO. And what I'd like you to do is revisit that and also learn that exercise, and then together we'll put them, we'll put the ERO We'll do the Aries gesture, we'll do the streaming, and that will be a wonderful wheel exercise if you choose to take this one up to practice. So, yeah, so let's try it. So I will do the ERO to start with, just so that we have the whole picture of the exercise that you will be working with this month. So I'm just going to go back a little bit to where I was, back here, and let's begin. Aries. Now the streaming from the cosmos pouring into the top of your head, across your forehead, passing your throat to in front of the heart, where the cosmic devotion and our own devotion may come together and form something new. Thank you.
I am the one who shines through.